you've been fasting, skipping meals, drinking water, maybe even pushing 16, 18, 24 hours, and yet the scale won't move. Worse, you feel frustrated, tired, and stuck. So what's going on? Because if fasting is supposed to burn fat, why isn't it working for you? Today we're going to break this down clinically, metabolically, and honestly, so you understand exactly what your body is doing and how to fix it. You've been told that fasting is the answer. Skip meals, push through hunger, drink water, stay disciplined, and if the fat isn't coming off, the assumption is simple: you're doing something wrong. But what if the real problem isn't your discipline? What if the real problem is something happening deep inside your body, something you can't see, something silently blocking fat loss no matter how hard you try? Because here's the uncomfortable truth: fasting doesn't fail, your hormones do. Inside your body, there's a powerful hormone acting like a gatekeeper. Its name is insulin. And insulin has one primary job: store energy. Every time you eat, especially carbohydrates, insulin rises. It tells your body, we have fuel, store it. Store it in the liver, store it in the muscles, and when those are full, store it as fat. Now here's where it gets serious. When insulin is elevated, your body is literally blocked from burning fat, not slowed down, not reduced, blocked. It doesn't matter if you're eating less. It doesn't matter if you're fasting longer. If insulin stays high, fat stays locked. This isn't opinion. This is basic human physiology. Your body cannot burn fat and store fat at the same time. It must choose one mode, and insulin makes that decision. Now imagine this. You fast for 16 hours. You feel proud, focused, committed, but your insulin never truly dropped. Why? Because insulin resistance has been building for years. Frequent eating, sugary snacks, refined carbohydrates, late night meals. All of it trains your body to keep insulin elevated almost constantly. So even when you stop eating, your body doesn't switch into fat burning mode. It hesitates, it resists, it holds on, because from its perspective, insulin is still saying, store energy, don't release it. This is the metabolic trap millions of people are stuck in. They fast harder, but their body fights back harder. And instead of burning fat, something unexpected happens. Your body adapts. It slows your metabolism. Calories burned at rest begin to drop. Energy levels dip. Fatigue creeps in. You feel colder, hungrier, more irritable, because your body thinks you're in danger. It doesn't see fasting as a strategy. It sees it as a potential threat, especially when insulin signals are still confusing the system. So instead of unlocking fat stores, it conserves energy. It protects you. And here's the shocking part most people never hear. In this state, your body may start breaking down muscle instead of fat. Lean tissue becomes fuel because accessing fat requires low insulin, and your body hasn't been given that signal clearly enough. So now you're fasting, losing strength, feeling worse, and the fat still won't budge. This is where frustration turns into self-doubt. You start thinking, maybe fasting just doesn't work for me. But fasting isn't broken, your hormonal environment is. Insulin resistance doesn't happen overnight. It's built slowly, silently, over years. And by the time you try fasting, your body has already adapted to a world where fat is rarely used as fuel. It has forgotten how. Metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between burning sugar and fat, is lost. So when glucose runs low during fasting, your body doesn't smoothly transition to fat burning. It struggles, it panics, it sends hunger signals. Cravings intensify, energy crashes hit hard because it's dependent on sugar, but unable to access fat efficiently. That's not a lack of willpower, that's biology. And until that biology is addressed, fasting alone becomes a battle you can't win consistently. Now think about what happens when you finally break your fast. If that meal is high in sugar, high in refined carbs, insulin spikes sharply. And whatever progress your body might have started gets shut down instantly. Fat burning stops, storage mode returns, and the cycle repeats. Fast, spike, block, repeat, over and over again. This is why so many people say, I'm fasting, but I'm not losing fat, because they're focusing on the timing of food instead of the hormonal response to food. Timing matters, but hormones matter more, and insulin is at the center of it all. When insulin finally drops, truly drops, everything changes. Fat cells open, energy becomes stable, hunger quiets down. Your body shifts from survival mode to fuel burning mode. But that shift doesn't come from longer fasting alone. It comes from correcting the signals your body has been receiving for years. Lowering insulin isn't about eating less, it's about eating smarter, reducing processed carbohydrates, eliminating constant snacking, giving your body clear, consistent signals. Signals that say it's safe to burn fat now. And when your body believes that, fat loss stops being a struggle. It becomes a natural outcome. So if you've been fasting, pushing harder, waiting for results that never come, understand this: your body isn't broken. It's responding exactly the way it was designed to, protecting you, adapting for survival. But once you shift the hormonal environment, once insulin is no longer in control, your body will finally do what you've been asking it to do all along: burn fat. You wake up thinking you're doing everything right. You're eating less, you're fasting longer, you're pushing harder than ever before, and yet something feels off. Your energy isn't stable, your body feels heavy, your progress has stalled, and deep down, there's a question you can't ignore anymore. If I'm not eating, why am I not burning fat? Because what's happening inside your body right now is not what you think. You believe you're burning fat, but your body may be doing the exact opposite. It may be slowing down, not because it's broken, not because it's failing, but because it's trying to protect you. The human body is not designed for rapid fat loss. It's designed for survival. And survival, in the eyes of your biology, means one thing: preserve energy at all costs. So when you suddenly reduce calories, when you extend fasting windows, when you create a sharp energy deficit, your body doesn't celebrate, it adapts. Metabolism is not fixed, it is dynamic. Research has shown that when calorie intake drops significantly, the body responds by lowering its resting energy expenditure. In simple terms, you burn fewer calories doing the exact same things. Your body becomes more efficient. And while that might sound like a good thing, in the context of fat loss, it's the exact opposite, because now the gap between what you eat and what you burn starts to close. Fat loss slows down, then it stops. And here's where it gets even more intense. This metabolic slowdown is not small. Studies on aggressive dieting have shown metabolic rates dropping by hundreds of calories per day. That means your body is actively fighting against your efforts. It is adjusting behind the scenes, quietly, powerfully, relentlessly. And one of the key players driving this response is a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is often labeled as the stress hormone, but its role is far more complex. It helps regulate blood sugar. It mobilizes energy during times of need. It keeps you alert and alive. But when cortisol stays elevated for too long, everything changes. Fasting, especially when combined with stress, lack of sleep, or overtraining, can increase cortisol levels. And when cortisol rises, your body shifts into a defensive state. It starts holding on to fat, especially around the abdomen. Because from an evolutionary perspective, belly fat is protective. It's energy stored for survival. So even as you're fasting, even as you're trying to burn fat, your body is being signaled to keep it. Now imagine the internal conflict happening inside you. On one side, you are restricting food, trying to lose weight. On the other side, your hormones are screaming, hold on, slow down, stay alive. And the body always listens to hormones over intention. Always. This is why you might feel exhausted during fasting. It's not just hunger, it's a reduction in available energy. Your thyroid activity may begin to downregulate. Your body temperature may slightly drop. You may notice cold hands, cold feet, slower thinking. Because your body is conserving fuel. Every system begins to operate more efficiently, but at a lower output. You are literally becoming a lower energy version of yourself. And here's the part that most people never connect. When metabolism slows down and cortisol stays high, fat loss doesn't just stall. Fat burning becomes biologically deprioritized because your body is no longer focused on optimizing appearance. It is focused on survival. Now think about what happens next. You push harder, you fast longer, you eat even less because logically that should work, right? But biologically, it backfires because every additional layer of restriction adds more stress. And more stress means more cortisol. And more cortisol means more resistance to fat loss. So now you're stuck in a loop. Eat less, stress more, burn less, store more, over and over again. And the frustration builds because from the outside, it looks like you're doing everything right. But from the inside, your body is fighting to keep you exactly where you are. This is not weakness. This is adaptation. Now let's go deeper. Your body has a built-in alarm system. When it senses prolonged energy shortage combined with stress signals, it begins to alter hunger hormones. Ghrelin, the hormone that makes you feel hungry, increases. Leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, decreases. So not only are you burning fewer calories, you are now biologically driven to eat more. Cravings intensify, not just for food, but specifically for high energy, high sugar foods, because your body is trying to restore balance as quickly as possible. And when you finally give in, the system overcompensates. Energy gets stored rapidly, fat loss progress gets erased, and the cycle starts again. This is why so many people experience cycles of strict fasting, followed by overeating. It's not lack of control, it's a hormonal rebound. Your body is correcting what it perceives as a threat. Now, here's the moment that changes everything. When you understand that your body is not working against you, so it is working for you, that you stop trying to force fat loss and start trying to create the conditions for it. Because fat loss is not something you command. It's something your body allows when it feels safe. Safety in biological terms means stable blood sugar, balanced hormones, low chronic stress, adequate recovery. When these conditions are met, your body no longer needs to conserve energy. It no longer needs to hold on to fat. It can finally shift into a state where burning fat is not a risk, but a solution. And this is where fasting becomes powerful again. Not as a punishment, not as a desperate strategy, but as a natural extension of a healthy metabolism. In that state, your energy doesn't crash during fasting. Your focus sharpens. Your hunger becomes manageable, even quiet. Because your body is no longer dependent on constant food intake. It has access to stored energy. It trusts the system. And when your body trusts the system, it lets go of fat. So if you're fasting right now and nothing is changing, look deeper. Because the answer isn't always to do more. Sometimes the answer is to understand more, to recognize that behind every plateau, there is a biological reason, a signal, a response, a pattern. And once you decode that pattern, you stop guessing, you stop fighting, and you finally start moving forward. Because the moment you align your strategy with your biology, your body stops resisting and starts responding. You've tried harder than most people ever will. You've skipped meals, pushed through hunger, ignored cravings, and trusted that fasting would finally unlock fat loss. But something hasn't clicked because the truth, the real turning point, is this. Fat loss doesn't begin when you fast longer. It begins when insulin finally drops. Not slightly, not temporarily, but consistently. Because insulin is not just a hormone, it's a command signal. When insulin is high, your body is being told one thing: store energy, store it in the liver, store it in the muscles. And when those are full, lock it away as fat. That signal doesn't disappear just because you stopped eating for a few hours. If your body has been living in a high insulin environment for years, that signal lingers. It echoes through your metabolism. So even when you fast, even when your stomach is empty, your body may still be operating under the instructions to store, not burn. This is why lowering insulin is not optional. It's foundational. It's the first domino. And until that domino falls, nothing else moves. Now, here's what most people get wrong. They try to outwork insulin. They fast longer. They eat less. They push harder. But insulin doesn't respond to effort. It responds to signals. And the most powerful signal you send your body is not how long you fast. It's what you eat when you don't. Every bite of food carries information. It tells your hormones what to do next. And certain foods send a very loud, very clear message. Raise insulin, store energy, stop fat burning, refined carbohydrates, sugary drinks, processed snacks. These don't just add calories, they amplify insulin. Even small amounts repeated consistently can keep insulin elevated all day long. So you fast, but then break that fast with foods that spike insulin aggressively. And in that moment, your body shuts the door on fat burning again. The process resets. This is the cycle that traps millions of people. Not because they lack discipline, but because they're unknowingly sending mixed signals. Fasting says burn. Food says store. And the body caught in the middle chooses survival. Now imagine a different signal. Imagine breaking your fast with foods that keep insulin low. Whole foods, healthy fats, moderate protein, minimal sugar. These foods don't spike insulin the same way. They allow it to stay low, stable, controlled. And in that environment, something powerful happens. Fat cells begin to open, stored energy becomes accessible. Your body finally gets the message it's been waiting for. It's safe to burn. This is where the shift begins. Not dramatic, not overnight, but real. Because your body doesn't need perfection. It needs consistency. Repeated signals that reinforce the same message. Low insulin, stable energy, safe to release fat. And as those signals repeat, day after day, your metabolism starts to rewire itself. This is called metabolic flexibility. The ability to switch between burning sugar and burning fat. Most people have lost this ability. Years of constant eating, high sugar intake, and frequent insulin spikes have locked them into sugar dependence. Their body expects glucose, relies on it, demands it. And when it's not available, they feel weak, shaky, unfocused. Not because they lack energy, but because they can't access the energy they already have. Body fat is stored fuel, but without low insulin, it's like a locked vault. Lower insulin, and the vault opens, energy flows, hunger fades, cravings lose their power, and fasting becomes easier. Not because you're forcing it, but because your body no longer needs constant refueling. Now here's where most transformations either succeed or fail. People try to jump straight into long fasts before fixing the metabolic foundation. They go from eating every few hours to skipping entire days. And the body reacts with stress. Cortisol rises, energy drops, hunger intensifies because the system hasn't been prepared. Fat burning is not just a switch, it's a skill. And like any skill, it must be developed gradually. Start with 12 hours. Let your body experience a short period without food while insulin begins to drop. Then extend to 14, then 16. Each step is a signal, a message. And with each step, your body becomes more comfortable accessing fat, more efficient, more stable. This is how you train your metabolism, not through extremes, but through progression. Now, there's another piece most people overlook: electrolytes. When insulin drops, your kidneys release more sodium. Water follows, and with it, essential minerals are lost. Sodium, potassium, magnesium. This is why people feel dizzy, fatigued, even anxious during fasting. It's not always lack of food, it's lack of minerals. And when the body senses imbalance, it interprets it as stress. Stress raises cortisol, and cortisol can interfere with fat loss. So something as simple as adding salt to your water can change how your body experiences fasting. It can reduce stress signals and support the very process you're trying to activate. Now let's talk about a silent factor that can override everything: sleep. You can fast perfectly, eat clean, do everything right, but if your sleep is compromised, your hormones shift. Studies show that even a single night of poor sleep can increase insulin resistance. Cortisol rises, hunger hormones become dysregulated, cravings increase, and your body becomes less willing to burn fat. Sleep is not optional. It is a metabolic requirement. Without it, fat loss becomes an uphill battle. And then there's stress, not just physical, but emotional. Chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated, and elevated cortisol keeps your body in a guarded state, holding on to energy, holding on to fat, because from a biological perspective, stress signals danger. And in danger, survival always comes first. So lowering insulin is not just about food. It's about the entire environment your body is living in, the signals it receives, the patterns it repeats: food, fasting, sleep, stress. They all speak the same hormonal language. And when that language becomes consistent, your body finally understands what to do. Burn fat. Not reluctantly, not temporarily, but naturally, effortlessly. Because now you're no longer fighting your biology. You're working with it. And that's the moment everything changes. Hunger no longer controls you. Energy becomes steady. Your mind feels clear. And the scale finally starts to move, not because you forced it, but because your body is finally ready. So if you've been stuck, if you've been fasting and waiting and wondering why nothing is happening, remember this: the solution isn't always to do more. It's to send a better signal. Lower insulin first. And when that happens, fat loss is no longer a mystery. It becomes a response.